It's that time again. It's time for the Southern California Foreclosure Report, where we give you the actual and factual numbers for Southern California, notices of default, notices of trustee sale, and REO or bank-owned properties. And yes, we are starting to see an increase in foreclosure starts for certain counties in Southern California. But does this mean it's the end of the world? You know we're going to give you the straight story here, so click that like button and let's get started. And here we go, diving into the numbers for Southern California foreclosures, starting with the notices of default. So somebody missed a payment, and 120 days later, minimum, the notice of default can be filed. We're looking at April's going all the way back to 2015. What do you see? Well, I see for every county except for San Diego in green here, we have a year-over-year increase in the number of properties that a notice of default has been filed for the month of April. And in fact, for many of the Southern California counties, this is actually pretty high. You have to go all the way, for LA, you go all the way back to 2015, and it was even lower back then. Is this a scary thing? Well, if you look here, we're actually catching up on a bunch of notices of default we didn't have because 2020, 2021, we had a moratorium on foreclosures. So we're still catching up on that. We're still, when we look at numbers in general, we're low, but you can see notices of default are up. Now, for perspective, we bring in 2011, which was a hotter year for notices of default, not the hottest, and if we have a limitation on how far back we can go, but we can see that we're below the notice of default numbers for April of 2011 when we compare it to today. But I could see some people saying, oh, we're getting up there. We've got to keep tracking this to see where these numbers go. Next stage, notices of trustee sale. Things are getting more serious if you move to this next step. So 90 days later, we can receive that date where the trustee sale is going to take place, which would be 21 days in the future. And that's the date on the notice of trustee sale. Often takes longer. These are the minimum numbers I'm giving you. And here we can see in this next stage of foreclosure that again, we are up, except for Riverside, which is down. And a few are flat year over year for the notice of trustee sale. Los Angeles is up, but we can see 2015 that the numbers were higher for the notices of trustee sale. For perspective, we bring in 2011 when things were hot for the notices of trustee sale, and most of these were kicking out to the sale and turning into bank-owned properties or something else. And we can see that we are well below those levels during crazier days for foreclosures in Southern California. And here we are at the last phase of the foreclosure process. So these are technically foreclosed homes. They become real estate owned or they're owned by the lender. So these are properties that the notice of default occurred, the notice of sale occurred, then the actual sale happened and it went back to the bank. So we can see going back to 2020, that numbers are all over the place. We actually do see an increase for the most part. In most counties, we can see that we're up since 2020. Year over year, we're down for some, we're up for some. Riverside, we have almost double the number of bank-owned properties. Now, let's put this into perspective. Now we've got back to 2015. We have more normal years. So you can see 2019 and before. In any given market, there are going to be foreclosures. And we can see, in fact, in 2015, there were quite a few homes that were foreclosed on. And then we bring in 2011 and it's holy smokes levels. So we can see in Los Angeles in 1 month, an additional 1,400 properties. Also look at Riverside. So we had what, 17? Now we look back at 2011, we had over 1,100 properties go back to the bank. Now understand that not all properties go back to the bank. If they make it through the foreclosure process and there's an actual trustee sale, some are purchased by a third party at the trustee sale and those will be flipped or they'll be rented out. There's a new process, SB 1079. It's a couple years old now. I've released content on that. And that's where the sale can actually occur after the auction and a party can buy it from whoever bought it at the trustee sale. So interesting times. Part of the reason they're not making it all the way to the trustee sale phase is there's low inventory and there's a lot of equity in most of these homes still. So folks can put them on the market and get them sold before having to go all the way through the foreclosure process and lose some of that equity to the foreclosure process itself. If there's money left over, they will get it, but it's an expensive way to sell your home to go through foreclosure. So we were talking about equity, and this is from the ICE Mortgage Monitor, and we've run through these numbers. I'm going to show you the number of loans that are currently in default, but they have a special report talking about the average tappable equity per borrower, and you can see here where the most money is: San Jose, San Fran, LA, San Diego, and Seattle. So if you throw in that whole West Coast group, you have about a third of the nation's tappable equity in that, just those marketplaces alone. And what do we mean by tappable equity? Well, that is if they were to go ahead and get a loan and maintain 80% or lower loan to ratio value, they would be able to go ahead and tap that much equity. They actually have 20% more equity. You can't get a loan to take out 100% of your equity, but if you sell minus the cost of sale, you can take your equity and do whatever you want with it. So that is why when we talk about how much equity people have and foreclosures in Southern California, you can see these crazy levels in LA and San Diego in particular. The average is over $600,000 per property in those particular areas. That is a lot of equity that's in place in Southern California. And don't forget, if you're looking to score a deal on a foreclosure or you're in the foreclosure process yourself, you can reach out to us. We are real estate agents based in Southern California. And now we're looking at loan counts and average days delinquent in that same report. And I know there's a lot of teeny tiny numbers, but what's important for me to show you is we want to see the properties that are 30, 60, 90 plus days late, but the foreclosure process hasn't started. They haven't filed the notice of default to make it public knowledge. Because if we see a big increase in those folks being delinquent, that means we're going to start to see them show up in the foreclosure process, and then we could start to see more inventory kick out the other side as REOs and potentially start to affect the rest of the housing market like we saw in the global financial crisis. So it's important to track the number of loans that are late. It's a look into the future because these have to go through the process. Foreclosures can't sneak up on you. They have to go through the process. So if we see an increase in a certain phase and it continues all the way through, we will know that there's more inventory coming. So looking at the number of properties that are 30 days late, we can see that month over month, there's a drop. There's a drop in the 30, 60, 90 plus days late. Month over month, year over year, we see a slight increase in all those numbers, but those have peaked as of the end of 2023 and have since dropped. So again, this process won't sneak up on you. So what we're seeing now is we're seeing a drop in the number of folks who are late on their loans. Now, what this report talks about is that it's traditional as folks file their tax returns and get that money. In many cases, they'll bring their mortgage current. So that's why we typically see a drop in March on the number of properties that are behind in loans because they use their tax refund to pay for that. But we'll keep tracking it to see. As of right now, in these numbers, there's nothing alarming or shocking, especially when we look up here at this chart. Now, this chart tracks December's going all the way back. And you can see if you compare March to December's, that our numbers are very low for the number of properties where payments aren't being made. That doesn't mean there isn't anything to track. So despite those low numbers we just showed you, it's still worthwhile having a foreclosure.com account to be able to track your local area. You don't need millions of foreclosures. You just need the right foreclosure in your neighborhood to potentially score a deal, and foreclosure.com is going to help you. We have a link below so you can sign up for that. You don't even have to pay anything. You can get a free preview and go ahead and track one zip code to see properties in your zip code. So did you sign up for your foreclosure.com account yet? Let us know in the comments below. For those who have watched before, you may notice that this shooting location is very different. Well, that's because my office is being demoed. We are going to be flipping our house. We got more content coming. Make sure you're subscribed to our free weekly email newsletter. We'll keep you up to date on foreclosures and the flipping of our house. Oh, and the next thing you need to know is in this video right here. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we can't wait to hear from you.